Hey guys, what's up? So it's 2 a.m. here in Portugal, but I wanted to make a video for you guys. I've been thinking about that new game, Realm of Champions, lately. I've also been thinking about Marvel Super War lately, and that game is poised to come out probably late this year or early next year, and I can't wait to cover both games. But in both games' cases, I think there are certain characters, and of course in Realm of Champions, you're making your own character, but it makes you feel like, even though there are 200 characters in Marvel Future Fight, and there's bound to be more coming in the future, I thought it would be cool to basically look at a bunch of the different tribes in Marvel Future Fight that exist now, like Asgardians, Inhumans, X-Men, Avengers, Sinister Six, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fantastic Four, and basically give you my top 3 for new characters that could come out for these different tribes that I think would be really well received by the community, have interesting and cool powers, and of course have really cool possible team-ups, synergies, or sort of versus effects with existing characters in the game, whether they're teammates or their enemies, nemesises. So first off, before we start off the list, I want to say that I originally did put the Fantastic Four on this list, but then when I went through and I looked at, pretty much all members that have been been part of the Fantastic Four, I didn't really find anyone that was too interesting that we didn't already have. Most characters that have been members of the Fantastic Four, like, Crystal, like Medusa, etc., She-Hulk, we already have them in the game, and for some of them we even have Fantastic Four uniforms for them. Now there are some Fantastic Four villains that I would like to see, but I left this one blank for you guys, and I want you to give me your sort of top 3 suggestions specifically for Fantastic Four related characters, as long as they're not covered in another part of this list. So starting it off with the Asgardians, and the really beautiful thing about these kinds of lists for characters that are missing from the game is that if they were to make an update centered around these characters, it would be a perfect opportunity to buff the existing characters. So buffing Thor, buffing Odin, of course, Jane Foster, Angela. There's so many Asgardians that need to be buffed, and I know you guys want it as bad as I do. So my top 3 picks, again, not in no particular order for top 3, but my top 3 picks would be Beta Ray Bill, Cull Bornson, aka Odin's brother, the Serpent, and then Curse. And then Curse is a pretty cool villain. He appeared, I believe, in the second Thor movie, but nobody watched that, so you have absolutely no idea who I'm talking about. But I think it would be nice to see some more Asgardian villains to go along with Enchantress and Scourge, and I would love to have Beta Ray Bill join the ranks as well. Next up, I want to mention the Inhumans. Now, we don't have very many good Inhumans right now, so that is something that's already lacking in the game. I think the Inhumans are one of the most neglected tribes in Marvel Future Fight, and I know a lot of players think that Marvel Future Fight and Netmarble devs just don't care about the Inhumans, and I can kind of see why. I'm scrolling through the list, and I've yet to find a good Inhuman. Medusa's probably the best Inhuman these days, and definitely the most recognizable one. So on top of a, of course, huge rework to the existing Inhumans, especially characters like Black Bolt. Black Bolt's supposed to be the strongest Inhuman. I would love to see Inhumans like Triton, who's Karnak's brother, and he's as strong as, or he can at least go toe-to-toe with Namor underwater. Now he's not land-based like Namor can be, but it'd be really cool to see more aquatic attacks, and you can see that from Namor's skills, that Netmarble can definitely do that and animate that. And then Flint, who is a more recent Inhuman. There's actually been a lot of more recent Inhumans, but Flint can actually control rocks, so he's kind of like, what's her name, Terra from the DC Young Justice. So I would love to see a character like that, rock armor, levitating on rocks, stuff like that. And then Jailer, who is a recent addition as well. He's an sort of enemy to the Inhumans, but he is an Inhuman himself, and he has sort of vampiric, he has psychic vampiric powers, so he can sort of drain people through psychic powers and sort of drain their energy while he gets stronger. So it'd be cool to see something like that, which almost sort of mimics the sort of telekinetic telepathy powers of current mutants, but from the Inhumans side of thing, and it's sort of vampire based, which I love, and opens the door like other things like Morbius, although he's not an Inhuman. And then of course stuff like bad guys and villains. Next up, I want to talk about the Avengers. Now, a ton of characters have been Avengers, so I don't really think it's easy or it's fair to just list a top 3, but I will try to hit the top 3 in terms of 2 that I really want and 1 that I think everyone really wants. So as far as my top 3 Avengers to be added to Marvel Future Fight, man, Superwoman, I think everyone wants her in the game. I think it's been long enough without Did I say Superwoman? Okay, sorry, I meant Spider-Woman. Yeah, sorry, Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, absolutely needs to be added to the game. She would be a fantastic addition, and again, she has been an Avenger as many other characters have been. Spider-Woman, not Superwoman. Too many DC references here in this video. Next up, we got Hercules. I think Hercules would be awesome, and he could open the door to sort of some Olympian versus Asgardian type stuff. And then Wonder Man. I think he's got a really interesting skill set, and he could be either combat or he could be blast. He could be blast physical or something like that. I think there's a lot of interesting combinations for skills and typing for him specifically that Netmarble could, explore with his skill set. Next up, I want to talk X-Men. And although Namor is a mutant, he's not really part of the X-Men. I mean, he is and he isn't. But anyways, I will just use him as a jumping off board for this topic. The top 3 X-Men that I would like to see, I know a lot of people want to see Havoc. I mean, there's a lot of X-Men that people want to see, but I also know people are pretty tired of the X-Men right now with recent updates, including a lot of mutants. But I think Havoc would be a very, very cool character to add in Marvel Future Fight, and he could have this, cool synergy with Cyclops where they can they only deal 0 damage to each other. Mr. Sinister would be amazing as well as a very, very cool villain. And then last but not least, a personal favorite of mine, Omega Red, to sort of duke it out with the other combat types, being a villain, maybe, giving Namor some trouble, and of course being a really nice villain for Wolverine. And then from the last 2 that I have here for the Sinister Six, and the Sinister Six is interesting because it's the Sinister Six, but there's way more than 6 members if you count all of them that have ever existed. And the nice thing about the Sinister Six specifically, and why I chose them for this list, is that recently they added the Sinister Six ability tag. So I think it's a perfect time to explore that even further, not necessarily in the next update, but in the future. So there's tons of different Sinister Six members that could join us. We already have a lot of the really, really big ones, but I think getting Scorpion and getting Hobgoblin would be 2 huge additions. Hobgoblin could also be with a Green Goblin rework, and then that could give you 3 really strong poison-based characters in Scorpion, Matt Gargan, Hobgoblin, and then Green Goblin. And then for the last member that I would add as a new member, because we already have Green Goblin, I would personally choose Shocker. But let me know who you guys would like to see for the Sinister Six. I know you guys love villains, and I know you guys love Spider-Man. So yeah, who do you want to hunt the Spider? Now, while we're waiting for this to load, I'll boot up my last group here. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, the Guardians of the Galaxy have, a lot of different characters that have played sort of supporting roles for them throughout comics, and in the MCU they're a bit more of a tight-knit group, but you've got auxiliary members like Mantis, you've got different characters joining and coming and going for comic runs or for certain sort of crossover events. So I think it would be nice to get additional Guardians, and I think as well it would be nice to see the Guardians tag. And that's one thing that I didn't really mention throughout this video, but I will mention it now, is that for a lot of these characters, I mean, so the Sinister Six, the Fantastic Four, they have those tags, but the Avengers, the X-Men, the Inhumans, Beta Ray Bill, and the Asgardians, they don't really have those tags. And so it would be really nice to see the Guardians, probably with Star-Lord. I think I've already used Star-Lord, but possibly with Star-Lord adding in the sort of a leadership or sort of an ability role specifically for the Guardians of the Galaxy, because there have been enough members, and so it would be here next to Command and next to Weapons Masters. You could also add that to Gamora as well, and I think that'd be a nice way to rework Gamora. The reason specifically that I like the Guardians of the Galaxy more than some of these other tribes and so groups is that there's so many bad members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Star-Lord and Rocket from the core group in the MCU are pretty good in the game, but man, Gamora is terrible, Drax is terrible, Adam Warlock at this point is quite terrible, and that's just a short list. There's way more characters on there that are really, really bad that could be reworked. So it would be really nice to see a huge top to bottom like Guardians update, and that could introduce new characters, and that would give ways for Netmarble to sell those characters and make money, but also to rework these characters that have been left behind for so long, make some of them actual strong characters, make some of them support characters with either like Guardians of the Galaxy leaderships. You could change Star-Lord's leadership to just affect Guardians of the Galaxy members, or you could have them with sort of a passive effect, sort of like Thing from the Fantastic Four, where it only affects members of the Guardians of the Galaxy. You could give that to someone like Drax. Now, as far as Drax goes, I would love to see his daughter Moondragon added to the game. I think she'd be a really cool either combat or speed type. I would love to also see Fire Lord, who served as a Herald of Galactus, and I know we have a lot of fire type characters in the game, but I think he's really, really cool, and we could also get him with a sort of Guardians of the Galaxy themed giant boss raid a la Silver Surfer, because Silver Surfer also is the most notable Herald of Galactus. And then finally, and I think this is a big one for you guys, Nova, Richard Rider. I would love to see him added to the game. I wouldn't like to see him added. I would not like to see him added as a Sam Alexander Nova uniform. I would like to see him added as a separate character to keep those two Novas separate. They could design them differently, or they could design them similarly. It doesn't really matter to me, but I think it would be awesome to have him. He's not technically a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's helped them and he's tagged along with them and teamed up with them enough times that I would consider him sort of an honorary member. And he's had his brush-ins with Gamora, and he's had his sort of tussles with Star-Lord, so I think he would make a suitable character, and he's also Xandarian, so he has that going for him. Nice. To sort of relate to some of the other characters. So yeah, with that being said, there's tons of characters that this game could add. Of course, characters are not the only thing in this game, but it is one thing that, of course, that always ties us to the Marvel Universe and gets us hyped for new updates. So let me know who you would like to see added to the game. Which tribe do you think deserves to be reworked and updated first? You can vote in the poll right there at the top right-hand corner. And yeah, let me know what you think of the content and what you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again. Take care.